thank you. So I know that I've got few minutes, so I'm going to be mindful of time and we just run. The other thing I want to also highlight is I want this conversation to be interactive. I typically like and enjoy interaction, so I'm going to definitely have spots where we are pausing, reflecting, sharing. Hopefully, I can do that within the minutes that I have to get this done. Okay, so okay, yes, so I can share my screen. Thank you so much. Yeah, I can share my screen. Okay, so I'm putting it up. Yes, let me put it on presentation mode and we can get started. So I was asked to speak on discovering your why, building a purpose-driven career. So I wanted to start off with a quick story, right, on how this career journey can be very interesting. So, and I will start off from junior school. So junior school, I wanted to study medicine. I was in JS3, myself and a friend that said we're going to study medicine. You know what we did? We were we were trying to experiment that we can be surgeons. And so it was one day, I think during the rains, one day we went out, we caught a frog. We brought the frog in, used a razor blade, we tore the frog. This was supposed to be afternoon prep. I was in boarding house. We tore the frog's belly, brought out the intestines, pushed back the intestines, and used needle and thread to sew the to sew the belly. That frog died. It died. It literally died on the table of the experiment. And so we threw it away. But we're not scared. We went back. We caught the second frog and put it back on the table. We did the same thing. This time around, that frog even survived. It was hopping. We took it from class to class. Our classmates were shouting. So that frog died. That frog actually died. It didn't last too long. But we're trying to prove to ourselves that, hey, we can be medical doctors. Not until I finished junior class and I failed integrated science. And once you fail those kind of science subjects, there's no way you're doing sciences. And so in SS1, my dream had to change. And I said, you know what? I think I'm going to be a lawyer. Let's just stick with being a lawyer. But then I struggled with literature for a while. I did struggle with literature because I'm just like, I don't get all this poetry thing. Like, how you stressing my mind with all of this? But anyways, I managed to pull through, and that turned out well. Guess what? After 2 years of seeking admission, I eventually got admission, right? But then I was given history, and so the whole search for career started afresh. So I wanted to just quickly share my story on how, to be honest, this career journey can sometimes feel um confusing. And many times it involves you thinking and thinking. And sometimes you're like, is my life changing? Is it going to change? And sometimes you might be tempted to think, well, what will people think? And I started like this, but now I'm changing like this. What will people think? But hey, the conversation we're going to have is going to, I believe, will shine a lot of light on what you're doing and hopefully allows you see that you even being on this call is a great start and you're definitely on the right track. Okay, and hopefully provides you a good path for you to begin to see your life and even just be more focused on what you're doing and not feeling that maybe there's one singular way to go about things. Okay, but now I'm going to move on. This is where I want to hear from you. My first slide here, I've got a question for you, and it says, if money was not a problem, and if money, status, and expectations didn't matter, what would you do every day? If you didn't need to think about money, if you didn't need to think about hustling, waking up early, going out, being at workplace, having meetings upon meetings, and you're doing Zoom, can you hear me, can you see me, and all of that. And then you're coming back tired and exhausted. If you did not need to do that, what would you do every day? I'm coming to the charts now. So I want you to type in the charts. If you have your camera turned on, you can write it on your notepad and just put up, maybe put it up for us on the screen and we could also read it. You just um turn your camera towards that and we could read it. But I'm coming to the charts to just get a sense of that. I like people who are talking. If you're not talking, we'll fight. Eh, Joshua asked people, "Are you ready?" Say, "Ready, ready." All of you, ready, ready. I'm ready, ready. Ready, ready is that you talk. Oh. Um. Okay, Esther. I'll build a school for the next generation women. A grooming school. Amazing. That's good. That's good. Okay. Who else? Come on, guys. We're over 20 on the score. I should be seeing like you should be dazzling me with plenty responses. You do charity work. Okay. Okay. Who else? You travel, engage your hobbies, have fun every day. I mean, who is loving care in this plan right now? I mean, travel. Wow. Okay. I'll own a care home for the elderly. Amazing. Nice. Okay. Who else? I can have one more and I'll come back to my slides. Who else? One more, one more. Going, going. No, it's not going. It's not gone yet until I see one. I'll go for missions. Wow. Look at that. Wow. Hey, my God. I'm loving it. He'll go for missions. That's good. Okay. So let me come back to my slide. So I think ultimately what I was why I stirred this up is to say that what you really love to do, if you didn't need to think about hustling a lot of the times, is a signal to your purpose. And I'm going to speak about purpose. And there's a part of purpose at some point in my life that I was reflecting and I was really trying to understand because a lot of times when I heard people speak, they spoke about purpose and vision, and they somewhat made it seem like they were interchangeable. But from from how I've tried to assess my life and see things, I do not think that they're interchangeable. And I'm going to speak to that because I also feel like it's possible that there are people on the score who would also need that level of clarity and need that bit of understanding. Okay, so let's this interesting quote here. Interesting thing was when I was preparing for this session, I saw a quote that led me to tweak it this way. So the quote I saw said, "Life is not about finding yourself." That was the quote, but it's about creating yourself. But that did not sit well with me because again, um, it's important that yes, some things can sound very good, but I'm not here to say things that sound good. I want to say things that I believe, things that I have practiced, and things that I know works. So I do not agree that life is not about finding yourself, but creating yourself. I believe that there is a you to find and there is a you to create. So the you to find is when you find it, you're creating it by giving it expression. And we'll talk about that. But I wanted to just put this there so that you have that at the back of your mind. There is a finding and there is a creating to do alongside. Okay. So now your purpose or your why, and why in this case is purpose, is sort of like the root. So I want you to think about a tree. Think about Iroko tree or palm tree. It has a root. You typically will not see it. Yeah, it's not something you necessarily see in the open, but it's your root. And guess what? It does not jump from place to place. It has a deep rooting, it is steady. But then there are expressions of you that people see, and that can be branches, branch here, branch there, whatever. And then in different seasons, one season, if you're outside Nigeria, they have autumn, spring. There's one season when the leaves are yellow. There's one season when it's dropping. There's one season it becomes green. It can be that way. But your root is remains your core. It remains your anchor. So, and it's not necessarily something you find in one moment. When you're just sitting, just be like, I now know my purpose. So, and I'm going to try to explain this because I feel that as you grow, as you evolve, as you expose your mind to things, there is there is a way you begin to understand the purpose. There is a new understanding you begin to have to it, that it gets refined and refined. But the core of it is still there. It's just that it's refined and refined on the journey, which is why it's a journey. And I will come there. It is also uncovered through layers of experience. So think about an onion. You peel off the rough part, and maybe the second layer is another rough part, and then you go in, you're seeing a smoother part, the part that makes you cry and all whatnot. But it's uncovered through experiences. So you'd have gone through certain things, tried certain things, and you're like, okay, oh, I'm understanding it now. Oh, is this what you meant? And on and on. But the core of it hasn't still changed. It's just that you are understanding it better. There's new lights coming to it. Yes. Okay, so I'll move on quickly. Now, how do you find purpose? So there is this they call it the Kigali Ikigai. Sorry, not Kigali. See me saying Kigali. I want to go to Rwanda. Ikigai. The I think the Ikigai framework or something. And Ikigai in Japan has to do with finding purpose. So, and it's torn between many things. So you find Ikigai right there in the middle. It is deep in the middle. And can you hear me? Okay. It is right there deep in the middle, and there are many things about you surrounding it that takes you to that journey of going inwards. There is that point of what you love to do, and which is what we talked about. A few of you sharing already some things that you love to do. You want to do charity work, you want to set up a home for the elderly, you want to travel, see the world, have fun, you want to go on missions, what you love to do. There is the part of what you are good at, because sometimes what you love to do might not necessarily be what you're good at, but what you're good at. So you could be good at writing, right? um you're good at writing, but in all what you said about what you love to do, in all you said, okay, sorry, please help me. Great. You can be good at writing, but now you love to build a home for the elderly. You see the difference there. Then what you can be paid for. There is the part of what you can be paid for. Sometimes there can be an intersection. Maybe what you love writing and you can be paid for writing. But sometimes you love writing but you're not necessarily paid for writing. And you are paid for baking. Okay? The baking does not tie to elderly, it doesn't tie to writing. Sometimes it can be like that. And then there is a part of what the world needs. What the world needs. And then you find that there's an intersection. So sometimes what you love and with what the world needs, there could be an intersection. And sometimes there may not be an intersection, right? So, for instance, you love to travel, you love to have fun, and it's what you love, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's what the world needs. But that's fine, that's still you, and it's part of you trying to define and find your true core, right? So, there is what the world needs. What does the world need? So between where you find an intersection between what you love and what the world needs, you could find missions. So the young man who says, "Hey, I want to go into missions," could be, oh, and I am assuming missions in this case is maybe preaching the gospel. So in this case is that, oh, the world needs to hear God, the world needs to have true faith, and then you love it as well. So there could be an intersection there. There could be an intersection between what you love and what you're good at, right? So um if allow me go a bit spiritual at this point. So in the Christian faith, we have what we call gifts, and sometimes some of us have the gifts of helping others. So if you have a gift of helping others, for instance, it's what you're good at in that sense, quote and unquote. And what you love is that you want to also set up a home for the elderly. I don't know if you're seeing some level of this thing, but it's me giving an example. And that then forms like a passion. What you love and what you're good at can then form a passion. And then what you're good at and what you can be paid for can become a profession where it intersects. So, for instance, you love writing and you're being paid to be a writer, can then become a profession where you're writing for blogs, you're a media person, you're writing a lot of articles, writing a lot of newspaper publications, whatever that looks like. And then what you can be paid for and what the world needs, meeting at a point, can become a vocation. It's not necessarily what you love. It's not necessarily what you give at you're good at, but you can be paid for it. And they shall need it. When they have birthday parties, they need a cake. When they have wedding, they need cake, right? And we can be paid for it, no problem. I don't need to love baking the cake, but I can be paid for it and it can become a vocation. But all of this, where it intersects, you then need to find a point that what you love meets with what you're good at, meets with what you can be paid for, and meets with what the world needs. That point where all four of them meet is your core purpose. So it takes you sitting down and reflecting and asking yourself a lot of questions. And I'm going to share a bit of those questions soon. If you look at this model, you find that at the different intersection, it's sharing a bit of what your feeling can look like. So there's a part where you're feeling satisfied, but feeling kind of useless because money is not coming in. There's a part where you have money, but you're feeling empty. There's a part where you're excited, but you're sure not too certain yet. It doesn't feel like it yet. And there's a part where there is delight and there's fullness, but there's not money. But yes, I mean all of that. I will carry on. So this is where I want to talk about some of the questions, and I will definitely share all of this with Josh. He can share with you. You can use the questions to reflect. But step one just says that look, you're going to be asking yourself a lot of questions. So you want to have a notepad where you're dropping your answers. And your answers don't have to be accurate or right. It's just the starting points. Anything that comes to mind. And it's not a response where you're trying to mimic someone else or you're trying to think about what someone else's answer would have been, but you're just putting down everything that comes to mind. And then I have step 2 to 4, just highlighting a lot of questions. What I love to do, what interests me the most, what are my hobbies, what am I good at, what are my key skills and strengths, what do people ask for help from me, what does the world need, what or who inspires me or moves me the most, what makes me frustrated, what gets me angry, what disturbs my peace. What could you see yourself doing professionally? What product or service would you want to sell? You ask yourself, and not be writing anything that comes to mind. It's a journey. It's a journey. Gradually, you begin to find some routine, but experiences also uncover all of this in bit as well. And you have to give yourself room to explore. So this is where I want to highlight a bit of what my confusion was around purpose and vision. Because sometimes we ask ourselves, what's your vision? And then we make people reflect on these sort of questions that actually take us to our purpose. And purpose is deeper. Purpose is timeless. It's your anchor. So it's your compass that makes you feel like this is my happy home. This is my happy spot. It is rooted in your values, it is rooted in your passions, it is rooted in your contribution. And it rarely changes. It rarely changes. What changes about it can be your understanding of it, but it rarely changes. Vision, on the other hand, vision is seasonal. I can have a vision for 1 year, a vision for 5 years. For instance, I said in junior class I wanted to be a doctor. That was the vision. In senior class, to be a lawyer. That was the vision. And then they got me confused by the time I got admission into school to study history. And I had to ask myself, so what's my vision? My vision became, you know what, just graduate with a good CGPA. I did not have career path. Just graduate with a good CGPA. So your vision can be seasonal. It can be based on where you currently are, but basically what you can see about it is your route or itinerary. So think about you trying to go on a journey. So I'm going to go with the example of my friend on the call who wants to travel. So I want to travel to Dubai, right? So and I want to travel because I want to have fun. Okay. So my plan is my itinerary will look like, oh, after I get my visa, I would like to, when I get to Dubai, I want to go to the desert, that sand, whatever. I don't even know the name. I said I was going to research right before I come on this call, so I'll sound like I know something, but I did not do the research. So anyways, let me be serious. And then I'm like, I'm gonna go there, I'm gonna go to the tall building, I'm going to get into some malls. That's sort of like my itinerary. But I get on ground and I could switch things up and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm not even going to that place again. I don't feel like it. Someone like me that can be introverted, maybe next is I want to be sleeping, just sleeping on the bed. When I've traveled all the way, I'll not be sleeping. But yes, your itinerary can change. And it can be shaped by life stage, skills, and opportunities. So, as one opportunity unlocks, you could find yourself crafting a vision around it. So, think about tech, for instance. Some years ago, a lot of us did not think about tech. Me, for instance, I did not think about tech. But it's interesting that it's coming to mind more and more. And I'm asking myself, girl, how are you going to step into this tech world? You better step into this tech because I don't understand the kind of cake they're eating in the tech world. And I want to eat my own share of the tech cake. But anyways, let me focus. So I could start changing my vision in that direction. And it can shift many times. And it's okay if it does. It's okay if it does. So one example I had in mind I was going to share with you was, say, think about your life maybe as a teenager or early 20s. You were saying to yourself you want to impact lives, right? And then you found yourself talking a lot to primary school students, secondary school students, and you're feeling like, yes, I'm really impacting lives, and it's okay. But then the vision can switch by the time you get into school and maybe you're studying civil engineering. And then you're coming out of school and your intention is, look, I want to build quality infrastructure, not one that collapses on people, not one that kills people, not one that is used they use, non-quality material to build. But I want to really do work that ensures that people are safe. That's you still impacting lives. It still involves you impacting lives and you're being mindful of the environment, you're being mindful of the materials used for building. But next thing you turn 50, you find yourself sitting on a policy think tank where you're having conversations on policy around infrastructure, sustainability. And you're saying, you know what, we need to have systems that ensure that people are not building houses in wrong places. People are not building companies in this. They're not doing that. They're not doing that. You're still impacting life. It's just now taking a different shape. So your vision at one point was, oh, so number of secondary school students. Your vision at another point became, you know what, as I'm building, I'm ensuring my company is doing this. Your vision at another point is now saying, look, the policy we're bringing up at this point, I must ensure XYZ, XYZ. Do you see how it goes? But the core of it is that you want to impact lives and you're still doing that. It's just that it's taking different expressions, it's having a different vision. Your vision is just tweaking per time, but the core of it is still there. So you don't feel like, but is my path changing? When somebody now says, is it changing too much? When somebody now says, what are you now doing today? You're now doing that today. Hello, the core of it is still there. The core of it is still there. Okay, and I hope that this helped somebody. And if you still have a question for me, I'll be happy to take. I'm trying to look at my time before Joshua comes for me. So I wanted us to reflect very quickly. Um, where you get to think back to a time you felt deeply fulfilled. A time it would have been maybe one small moment you felt deeply fulfilled. What were you doing? Who were you serving? What skills were you using? And we could do this maybe as the towards the end, right? So that I quickly take, I think I have one or two more slides. I just take that quickly and then we come back and do this and we just wind down that way. Okay. So yeah, let me now come back to the conversation on career. So these are sort of like some tools, I was just reflecting on around how you then build a purpose driven career. Now we've talked about build or finding your why. So how do we then move it into career? So there's an experiment loop. And this is where you have to feel free to just experiment. Because again, like I said, you're not likely to find it in just one moment. So don't overthink it. So, yes, you've sat down with questions, you've written, and maybe it's still not clear. Don't overthink it. Just try things. go on a project, do some side hustles, sell this, sell that. I sold jewelry at one time. I did baking at another time. I was baking and delivering to supermarkets. I did I did a lot of volunteering as well. I did computer printing at one point. Do different things, just try, you know. Then when you're doing all of this, reflect. Am I feeling energized? Am I feeling drained? So you're beginning to see, oh, okay, maybe, oh, okay. And then there's the three lens filter, where you're saying, when these opportunities come, you're asking yourself, does this thing align with my value? Which, for me, before this conversation, is that you would have known your values. So this is not a values meeting. So hopefully you already know your values. But you ask yourself, does it align with my values? Does it stretch my skills? Or I'm sleeping on top of my skills? Does this contribute to something bigger than me? So when the opportunity comes, I feel like, wow. You know, when it scares you for a minute that, who sent me on this work? Are you feeling like that because of that? The third, oh my goodness, I missed that heading. But the heading on green is a different one. Anyways, let me focus on this third blue, the third blue career capital approach. Just speaking to how you can build capital for yourself in your work. It has to do with you building credibility. So whatever it is you're doing at that time, whether it's something you love or it's something you don't love, you know how you start up a job and you might not fully love it. It's okay. Like I said, I was doing many things. I was selling jewelry. I didn't understand what I was selling because I'm just like, I don't get it. But I was doing it. But the idea was I wanted to also the idea is how do you build credibility? So for everything you're doing, can people trust you? Can people consider you as someone who always gives your best, irrespective? In the course of that, you're building your network, you know. I know this, I know that, and you're doing your best to ensure that you're leaving good memories behind, which all of them, and you're also building on your skills. And this can allow you pivot at a later time. Next thing somebody says, oh, I remember this lady from 5 years ago. Yes, you can speak to her. It was credibility. That's capital. The fourth one, which is on that green stuff, is actually visibility. I did not change the heading. Has to do with purpose without visibility can be invisible. I mean, I was writing this, it was preaching to me myself because I'm not somebody who is very visible. But you need to be visible. And it's the idea that you have to, and maybe for some of you who are not very comfortable with it, especially for this time and age where it's like people can be self-driven and sometimes you're torn between. I don't know how many of you feel like that when you get on LinkedIn, just like, what is it? All of you are talking, all of who will I listen to? Sometimes it can be like some people are just trying to show themselves. But it's an idea of you reframing your mindset from you're not seeking attention. You just want to contribute. It's not about you trying to get validation. That you're doing it does not mean, hey, now you know that I am good. That's not why I'm putting it. I'm not putting it so that you feel like I'm good. Is that I just feel like, you know what? I've learned this from this experience. I just want to share it. I'm not putting it because I feel like, hey, all of you come to my comments. Because it can be another thing. When you put up that post on LinkedIn and you come and it's like, only one like. And maybe the like is only you. I only one like. What's going on? No, it's just putting out there gradually. And I know someone will speak to us about visibility again, but let me move on. And I think that this is where I'm almost done. If not done, maybe. Anyways, but this interesting quote I said, I liked it. It says, don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and do it. But it doesn't stop there. It now says because the world needs people who have come alive. And that's what the world really needs. If people are dead in it, are we now having a world? We need people who are alive, alive to their aspirations, alive to their purpose, and they're willing to try here and there. Those are the type of people we need. People who are doing, and they're trying many things and we're benefiting one way or the other. So you to do, others benefit. One way or the other. And you just keep finding it one way or the other, one way or the other. Okay, yes, and this is the final bit of it. That quote there says, purpose is not a destination you arrive at, and mostly drawn from all we've been saying. It's the compass you carry every day. You don't fully get there. We shall be keep going every day. Don't mind me using shall. I can be like that. But yeah, we keep using that. Now, I'll come back to this activity and I'll hand over to Joshua. So help me go into the chart. That moment where you felt really good, you felt really fulfilled. And I had that moment. And well, yeah, God has helped me. I've had it since then, anyways, at multiple times. But yes, at that moment when you felt really good, what were you doing? Who were you serving? And what skills were you using? For me, this moment was interestingly, I was in Ikorodu. Joshua will be shocked. I was in Ikorodu for a one volunteering project. We were just volunteering. For how many months we were in that community? My family wasn't there, nothing. They kept us with some, interesting families. That was the way the program was designed. But yes, I was just living with the family there and I was just doing some work in the community. I felt really fulfilled that period. It felt really good. And I was serving young people. It was a lot with capacity building for young people in the community, and I really liked it. The skills I was using a lot of talking. We're talking a lot, training, and talking and talking. So that was when I started to realize that I actually enjoy talking. As much as I can be introverted, I think that I like structured talking, not just any talking. So structured moments like this. So I've shared mine. I hope you can share yours in the chat. Okay, so I hand over to Joshua while I wait to see your responses in the chat. Thank you.